Mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling.
Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we have the brand new Tier 10 Research Bureau American destroyer, the Hull, in port to review for you guys today. The Hull is a little interesting boat here. So, you might notice the absolutely just stupid looking turrets on the ship. And yes, you've heard right. These are 8-inch guns. Des Moines guns, if you will. On a destroyer. Now, you would be forgiven for thinking that this is some convoluted wargaming concoction in order to, just reuse the Fort Sherman hull and get another, copy-paste ship in game. But believe it or not, this was actually tested out in real life. The real hull had one of these 8-inch guns strapped onto the ship in this exact same turret you see here. What was going on in the 60s and into the 70s is that the heavy cruisers were being phased out of the Navy, the U.S. Navy. And, well, the Navy wanted to know if they could kind of replace that shore bombardment capabilities that cruisers had by strapping, cruiser caliber guns on destroyers. And the Hull was chosen to be a ship to try this out. So they did mount one turret, like you see here in this picture and, what you see in game, onto the Hull's bow in order to try it out. Supposedly it was actually successful, but the program, for whatever reasons, was canceled in 1978, and the Hull was instead returned to her standard configuration with three 127mm guns like you see on the Fort Sherman in game. So, to Wargaming's credit, this was actually almost done in real life. Wargaming just went through and said, well, you know what? What if they did go through with it and we got a destroyer armed with heavy cruiser caliber guns in real life, and now we have the Hull. So, interesting little historical ship here. And, that's what I like about paper ships. We get these paper ships that, the Navy got very close to doing this, or some countries' Navy got very close to doing this, but it didn't go through. We get to see those come to fruition in game, and, those are the paper ships that I enjoy. But anyway, the Hull. Massive shout out to the channel's Patreon supporters. As, I am not a CC, so I do not get these ships to review for free. I had to reset my Harugama line several times in order to acquire this ship, and unfortunately I didn't have enough free XP laying around to completely get it for free, so of course it's what the Patreon funds provided by these very generous Patreon supporters come into play. And if you wish to support the channel, supporting the channel via Patreon is the best place to do so, besides of course watching the streams and videos. So, the Hull. Let's take a look at her, go over her stats and all of her features, and then take her into battle and give you guys my 2 cents on it. Now, I have actually played quite a bit of the ship before sitting down to record this section of the video, but it's been an experience. We'll talk about that here. So let's go ahead and take a look at her. So, this is her standard camo. This is, of course, a, 60s, 70s era ship. So, radar is a thing, not too much need for optical camouflage anymore. However, of course, having a little bit something extra would have been nice, but yes, this is her standard historical camo, and it's great. But of course, you can slap the other ones on there, but that's what you get when you purchase the ship. For her economic bonus, you do get the special ship bonus package, which is a 50% buff to the credits and 100% buff to your various XPs. You do not get the baked-in economic bonus you get if this was a full-on premium ship. So while it will be generating more credits than your average tier 10 without this bonus package, it won't quite be to the level of course, a full-on premium ship. And this is the bonus package that I've been running on the ship the entire time. So any of the economic results you see on the end screen of the videos for the gameplay section, that's what I'm running. All right. The model, of course, looks very nice. These turrets are new. This is one of the more new things that I think this might be, I don't want to say the first new model that Wargaming's done since the Ouija Lesta split. Because I'm sure on the Pan American battleships, they, of course, had to adjust some things and make some new models. But these are completely new. They're not recycled from anywhere in game. Of course, a lot of the ship is because it is a Force Sherman class. But these turrets are new, and they look quite nice. So good on Wargaming for that. Hopefully, we'll see some more unique models coming soon in the future. But again, it is the Force Sherman hull, and it's the Force Sherman hull. Get it? So the model is quite nice. It's a newer model, of course. And yes, look at that. Again, the reflections in the glass and stuff. Some of the newer models are very pretty in game, and you get the hull's insignia, patch, whatever you want to call it, emblem there. All right, so the armor. No prizes for the winners of guessing how thick the armor is. 19 millimeters all the way around on the deck, on the sides, because it is a destroyer. And of course, since it is a destroyer, there is no citadel, right? So you just don't get citadel. I guess you could say a TLDR description of the ship is a Des Moines without a citadel. Survivability, she has 24,900 hit points without any commander skills or the pay-to-win flag, right? So pretty healthy amount of HP for a tier 10 destroyer. Of course, the main feature are the 3 single-mounted 203mm guns with a 3.4 second base reload time, a 6 second 180 time for the turrets, maximum dispersion of 107 meters, and a 12.3 kilometer main battery firing range. The HE does 2,800 maximum damage, 14% fire chance, 34 millimeters of penetration, which is very good, and they come out the tubes at 899 meters a second. The AP is the Mark 21 AP, the same AP shells you will find on the Des Moines, which do a maximum damage of 4,900. Come out the tubes at 899 meters a second. Again, it's Des Moines guns ripped out and slapped on. Well, the guns are technically not the same, but the shells are right. So, very similar performance to the Des Moines there. And again, a 12.3 kilometer maximum firing range. You do get the 4 Sherman torpedoes, the 4 single-mounted 533mm torps. They work exactly the same as the 4 Sherman torps do, which means you have a very, very narrow window to fire these torpedoes. So you have just very, very slim firing angles. And of course, if you want to rotate them, you got to rotate the entire ship in order to get a little bit more angle on target. But they do 17,900 maximum damage, 16.5 kilometer range, travel at 66 knots, and they are detectable for 1.4 kilometers. They do reload in 73 seconds base, so not a bad reload time there. Depth charges. You, of course, have deck-mounted depth charges, again, a la the 4 Sherman. AA, you get 2 of the dual-mounted 76mm guns, and then the 3 203mm guns do also count as AA. Whoops. Oh, but the range is, what is it, on the, 6.9 kilometers. That's what I thought. Maneuverability, she jogs along at 33.9 knots base. You have a 680-meter turning circle radius and a 5.3 second rudder shift time. Concealment base is 8 kilometers. All right. For her box O gimmicks, you get a damage con that runs for 5 seconds and cools down in 40 seconds. And you get a specialized repair team consumable here, which is something that the 4 Sherman doesn't get. Doesn't even get a heal, but here with the hull, you do. So this regenerates 249 HP per second for 20 seconds. Takes 80 seconds to cool down, 3 charges base. You also get an engine boost, which is something that the 4 Sherman does not get. A 15% buff to your top speed for 120 seconds, and takes 120 seconds to recharge. And of course, you get DFAA, which makes a nice little pretty light show. So I'm going to go ahead and slap my commander module build back on the hull, and then we shall pick it up there. Alrighty, so for my build, this is essentially my, I don't want to say standard American Destroyer build. The way I play American Destroyers, like Fletcher, Kidd, Gearing, and 4 Sherman, Black, all of them, is I play them as cap contesters because I find that they're pretty darn good at that. So I gear them for, close range DPM. Same with the hull here. It's been working out quite well for me, more than in the gameplay section, but this is what I've been running on it. You can, of course, toss in the range mod, or you go for the range skill and get a little bit more range. I believe you can get the hull's range out to like 15-ish kilometers, which obviously is much further than 12.3, but you give up some of that DPM that I find is quite useful at close range. Again, this is just how I have been playing it, so that's where I'm coming from. So let's go through the build. For the modules, I went with the main armaments mod 1. This reduces the chance of the main battery guns becoming incapacitated by 20%, gives them a 50% buff to their survivability and a 20% buff to their repair time. Same for the torpedoes. Obviously, you have 3 turrets with 1 gun per turret. You want them going down as little as possible, and when they are down, you want them to come up as fast as possible. So that's my logic for taking that. I then took engine room protection, which is really funny considering how often it still gets knocked out. But because we have the mod on here, we have a lower chance of it becoming incapacitated and a quicker recovery time, because both of those get buffed by 20% with this mod. Same for the steering gears. And then I went with Aiming Systems mod 1 because I wasn't really sure what to take here, because okay, main battery mod 2, turrets rotate in 6 seconds. That's plenty fast. AA gun mod 1, you have 2 AA mounts, right? So why? Torpedo tube mod 1, sure, you can get them going a little bit faster. The torpedo tubes don't traverse, and you're not really getting a whole lot of damage from the torp tubes, but we'll talk more about that here in a minute. So I went with Aiming Systems mod 1 because, I mean, heck, you got 3 shells. You really need them to go where you want them to go, so I took that. And then I took Propulsion mod 1. Why? Well, because the way, again, you typically play close-range American destroyers, especially ones without smoke or ones that are out of smoke, you're zipping in and out of island cover, not unlike American cruisers, so this gets you zipping and zooming a little bit faster because you have a 50% buff to your acceleration, so that's why I took it. Again, I mean, steering gears mod 1, you don't really want to be playing it in the open water, dancing around. I mean, I guess if you really want to try that, go for it. Damage con mod 2, it's a destroyer, has destroyer burn time, and again, an improved heal, so you don't really care too much about fire damage anyway. Then depth charges mod 1, you take that, and then you'll never get a submarine match with how Matchmaker works. Concealment mod 1, of course, for a 10% buff to our ship's concealment. The ability to disengage is an ability you want to have, right? And the better your concealment range, the better the better chance you have of disengaging. So there we go. And then finally, main battery mod 3 for a 12% buff to the reload time. Now, of course, you naturally could very easily come down here and take gunfire control system mod 2. Take that. I would 100% agree with you on that. You get another 16% buff to the main battery gun range, which would give us a range of 14.3 kilometers, much more usable. But I, again, am going for max destroyer murderage with the reload, and max light and sometimes heavy cruiser murderage too with the max reload. Again, more on that in a minute. For the commander, permanent maintenance, so when your modules do become incapacitated, well, you have a faster recovery time, and they still work at a reduced capacity. So when your engine and rudder gets knocked out, you're still able to maneuver. I'm sorry, that's last stand. Whoops daisies, I was getting ahead of myself. Permanent maintenance gives you a 30% buff to the chance of your modules becoming incapacitated. And then last stand gives you the ability to still use your rudder and engine at a reduced capacity. I took Demolition Expert because this is, again, kind of my standard build. I could see, yoking this skill here and distributing the points elsewhere, but you get a 1% buff to your fire chance. And then for the first 3-point skill, I'm not saying this is the order you should take it, I'm just saying the first one we're going to be going over. Main battery and AA specialist for a 5% buff to the reload time of the guns. And then Adrenaline Rush for that juicy 0.2% buff to the reload time of your guns, right, as you lose HP. So lower HP you have, faster your guns reload. Superintendent for another charge of that heal, really just for that, because, I mean, you are a destroyer with a heal that is going to absolutely save you as you are a destroyer with very little HP, so you want more of that heal, especially considering it is an improved heal, right? And of course, you get another charge of the engine booster and DFAA. And then survivability expert, used to be called superintendent, for 300. No, I'm sorry, I am just confusing myself. I just read superintendent's name and then I called survivability expert superintendent. Wow, Sealord. Survivability expert for another 350 HP per tier. So we're at tier 10, get another 3,500 HP for a tier 10 destroyer, which is something you most definitely want. More HP, more life, more murdering. And then finally, concealment expert for another 10% buff to our ship's detectability. Now, of course, you could finagle this and then take Fearless Brawler, something that I very much wanted to do, but I feel like this is a pretty nice build at the moment. Again, probably could drop, that's my Discord, not yours, could probably drop one of these 3-point skills and the Demolition Expert skill, and then grab that Fearless Brawler to get an even faster reload time. But again, I feel like this one's been working out for me, so that's what I have been doing. So we'll just do 2 of these ships. So now with the commander skill and the flag, we have 29,850 HP, a mere 150 HP away from having 30k HP in a destroyer, which is just insane. The guns now have a 2.8 second reload time. That's pretty nuts on, again, 8-inch guns on a destroyer. Dispersion is now 100 meters. Pretty accurate shells there. I mean, we got what, 7 more meters out of the dispersion with the mod. We have a 17% fire chance with the flags and with Demolition Expert. That's really nice on a ship that has a 2.8 second reload time on 8-inch guns. And yeah, that is that for the guns. Torpedoes shouldn't have changed much at all. In fact, they shouldn't change at all. Maneuverability, we go 35.6 knots with the speed flag. Again, you get a 15% buff to that with the booster going. We have our detection down to 6.5 kilometers now. Alright, so I am going to go take this thing into battle, and I'll meet you guys there with a voiceover review of the hull. Alright, so this ludicrous cruiser with Des Moines guns. This thing is, in my opinion, exactly what the Research Bureau should be all about. These goofy, funny, redonkulous ships that they just looking at them, they look so stupid, but they're a ton of fun to play. So this fits right in my opinion, with like the Illinois with her, well, Des Moines caliber guns on a battleship, and the Siegfried with her 15-inch guns on a cruiser, right? This fits right at home in the Research Bureau, in my opinion. But is it worth your time? How much time do you have to put in to get this anyway? You need 60,000 Research Bureau points in order to acquire the hull, which, if you catch the booster, is a total of 5 regrinds of your lines, because you get the double points for your first reset, right? And then you need 4 more after that one. So quite a bit of regrinding, or quite a bit of free XP in order to get this ship. So you either dedicate yourself to regrinding a line 5 times, regrind the Harugimo line if you want to do that, or again, converting a lot of free XP, which will net you, easily in the $300 to $400 range worth of free XP to reset a line that many times. So, does it play like it's worth resetting a line that many times? In my opinion, yeah, it does. First off, the ship sounds amazing. This is a new audio that they've come up here, a new gunfire sound effect they come up here for the hull. It sounds beautiful. The best sound in the game, except for, of course, the Shikishima's gunfire sound effect. In my mind, at the moment, it sounds that good. So that is just there to the audio team, Wargaming. So, I've said just get the Shikishima for the gun sounds before, right? But the hull is a lot more to it than just the fancy new gunfire sound effects. So, the way I've been playing the hull is, again, not unlike how I play most of my American destroyers. Go to the cap, murder the DDs, protect your cap, and then, farm down targets of opportunity. Of course, with the 12.3 kilometer main battery gun range, that is about all you're going to be able to do with the build that I have on the hull. And you know what? It's been working. This thing is very good at just walking into a cap and then, getting bow out and letting the other destroyer come to it, or even going to it, obviously because you have the heal, murdering it, taking the cap, and then working its way through whatever it is that's still trying to take the cap. A cruiser gets near the cap, load up that AP. You have Des Moines guns. You have 8-inch guns on this ship. This ship can and will Citadel cruisers, and in some cases, battleships. Keep that in mind, because again, these are Des Moines guns. Yes, it's on the funny little Dorito boat, but these are still Des Moines guns. You can still bring the pain with these 8-inch guns with their AP shells. So that is what you do with the hull. You'd be very angry about, well, at least what I do with the hull, you'd be very angry about your cap and protect it like your life depends on it, because it really does, since you don't have a smokescreen. Which is something though that is the American Destroyer thing. You have that nice long duration American smoke, and got it here with the hull. So you have to either have a friend that has it, which if you take a hull into the game with like a buddy and a Forrest Sherman, then another buddy and either another American Destroyer, or better yet another Forrest Sherman, and you're just sharing smokes. Oh my God, that's a terrifyingly angry smokescreen there, right? But anyway, so use your AP on broadside targets, and even if you're not citadeling them, again, they're Des Moines shells. Go for the upper belt armor, go for the extremities. You'll be chunking them pretty consistently with these guns. Again, with the build that I have on it, with a 2.8 second base reload time, and if you can fit in Fearless Brawler and get your HP a little low, then oh my God, yeah, you're throwing these shells out at 2 seconds, which is insane, right? So the AP is quite fearsome. Now, of course, AP is really only good when you can bite into whatever it is that is presenting their broadside, or an angled enough profile to where you can bite into it. How about that HE? Well, HE, I mean, Des Moines. Des Moines is quite the good HE spammer. And by extension, of course, the hull is here too. I mean, again, a 70% fire chance per shell when you have a 2.8 second reload time on these guns. That's not bad. The HE is more than capable of, with its alpha damage, murdering down destroyers too. Because, yet again, here you are with Des Moines guns, 28 second reload per gun. And then, of course, you have the specialized repair team to help you through those gun duels with other enemy destroyers, especially other cap contesting enemy destroyers. And again, you've got darn near 30,000 HP to work with, and an improved heal on top of all of that. So this is a destroyer that's very good at kicking other destroyers out of its cap and just holding on to it. Now, of course, you don't have hydro, don't have radar, don't have smoke, so that's where a little bit of the frustration comes into place, right? Because you are dependent upon either what you can spot or what other players can spot. And of course, too, it's not like the other American destroyers where you can pull up to any pixel in the ocean, pop your smoke screen if you got some spotting going on for you, and just farm to your heart's content. You can't really do that. You have to use island cover. Again, not unlike if you were playing a Des Moines and, lobbing your shells over the island and farming down the enemy ships, which is something the hull is very good at doing. But of course, you have to have teammates that are providing that spotting, that are supporting you in order to make that happen. Which is where I had a lot of frustration with the hull, but that's not really the ship's fault if, your team's just not helping you out with that team play, right? But that is something that you will have to, of course, deal with. But even with all of that, like, the ship did really friggin' well. Now, keep in mind, too, with the matches you'll be seeing in the background, yeah, I'm not, cranking in 200 and something thousand damage. I'm cranking, like 110, 105,000 damage, which you might say, well, Sealord, that's not even really that good for a tier 10 game. Well, keep in mind that this is still mostly against destroyers, right? Destroyers have lower HP pools, so yeah, you won't be stacking fat stacks of damage, but it's fine because the game rewards you with the damage that you do versus the ship's overall HP. So I know I've said this a gazillion times, but I feel like it needs to be said even more. Murdering a destroyer from full health to not is the same as farming down a GK or a Kremlin from full health to not as far as the game's eyes go. So, and plus, you're killing the enemy destroyers. That is a massive, massive boon to your existence, to your team's existence, right? So, yeah, that's what I would do. I would go to the cap, murder the destroyers. Then once the destroyers are dead, okay, what can I farm down? Oh, look, there's a cruiser. But the thing, of course, where the hull differs from the other American destroyers is that you have that AP that can citadel them. So it's pretty funny when you make a cruiser disappear, and they're so used to, murdering destroyers. A lot of cruiser players, for the time being, I'm sure they'll eventually catch on. You'll appear in front of them, and they go, "Oh no, this fool of a destroyer has made himself visible to me. I shall now murder him." And then you chuck him for 15k every salvo, because you're citadeling him for 4,900 HP per shell, so essentially 15k HP per shell per salvo. So think about that, 15k every salvo, 2.8 second base reload time. So every 2.8 seconds you're removing 15,000 damage from a broadside cruiser. Doesn't take too long to whittle through their HP like that. So that is a very satisfying thing to do. And as I found out when going up against this incomparable, you can also citadel battleships at extreme close range too. Which is just absolutely goofy and hilarious. So, the hull. Overall, yeah, it is a 4 Sherman with some 8-inch guns strapped to the deck and some changes to its consumables, but it's a fun ship to play. It is a really, really fun ship to play, in my opinion. And at least the way that I was playing it. Now, of course, you could slap the range mod or take the range commander skill on your commander and get the range out to 14 kilometers and use it kind of as an HE farmer, which, yeah, you probably would be netting more damage with it like that anyway. But what I really like about the ship is that you can do it either or. You can kind of play it as a small Des Moines and hug your island, lob your HE shells over the island, and do the traditional cruiser farm thing down, right? Or you can do it like how I've been playing it. Play it as the the more aggressive cap contesting destroyer. Use it to murder other destroyers, which is not that hard to do. Really, only the dedicated gunboats, obviously things like Kitakaze, Harugamo, Groningen, Smallin, Marceau, would give you trouble, right? Trying to out DPM them and trying to heal through their damage, right? But pretty much everything else, if you've got good aim and you've played a lot of cap contesting destroyers, using your speed, using that engine boost to, zip in and out of island cover, it's a very good destroyer for, taking those caps and holding it and bullying other destroyers, which, again, I've had great success doing that in. The torpedoes, yeah, they're the 4 Sherman torps. Yeah, you've got teeny tiring firing arcs, but I don't know what it is with these things. The amount of times tonight I just chunked them in the general direction of a ship, and they actually connected somehow. It's friggin' wild. So there's that. It does have torps, so in a pinch, yeah, you can use them, but again, you get those teeny tiring firing arcs on them, so there is most certainly that. So overall, numerical rating for the hull, just on its own merits, I would give it an 8 out of 10. It's a really goofy, fun ship. You got Des Moines guns on a destroyer with the Des Moines AP, with the great, penetration angles and all that jazz. So it is a ton of fun for that in and of itself. So of course the upsides being the 8-inch guns with the Des Moines AP and the improved heal, the engine boost. You get DFAA, which I guess it is a plus that it has DFAA, but the AA is, of course, absolutely mediocre at best, and the DFAA just kind of makes it into a light show. The downsides being that, when you don't have the engine boost going on, it is a 4 Sherman, it is pretty sluggish. because of course it's the Force Sherman. It is still a big target. That's the downside of the Force Sherman hull. It is like a physically big destroyer, right? It's got a really boxy superstructure, so you're kind of more prone to the HE that's going to be thrown at you. But again, that improved hill does very much help you in those situations. And of course, well, you know, you can fire the guns at longer range if you want to, but I wouldn't really try. I think you can get out to like 15 kilometers and change if you really want to. I would certainly not try to play it at that range because, again, like the Des Moines, you have those you know, next day airmail shells, right, at that range with the air drag coefficient and the firing arc, so you do have to be aware about that. Not saying that it can't work. Obviously, if you're something down like a battleship or something like that, but definitely don't try to play the ship in that capacity. But yeah, 8 out of 10. Really good ship. Is it worth the regrind? Man, you know, if you like what you see here, you like what you see in the background, I'd say yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ships in the American tech tree that you can, well, for the destroyers at least, you can certainly, you know, just kind of use the build that I've been using here. I'm not saying I'm an expert DD player or anything, but I have been getting by with using this build on my gearing, on my kid, on my, you know, insert American destroyer here when playing it as a cap contesting DD. It's been working for me, coming, you know, in the upper, you know, 1 to 5 slot on the team pretty regularly with this build. So it's been working for me, right? So when I use it as a commander trainer, that's 100% something you could do with the hull. But really, this is a fun ship, right? So if this is like your first Research Bureau ship that you're going for, I wouldn't say go for the hull. I'd say go for the Ohio. But it's one that I would say, sure, is worth the grind, but maybe not your first grind. Maybe your second one, right? Because again, the first one, you should get the Ohio. The second one, then you can pick up one of those fun boats, which this is definitely that. So that's my 2 cents on the hull, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you guys think about her in the comments down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday, wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.